Is that, are you on?
Hello? Oh,
Here, try this.
oh, thank you.
Yep.
You ready? Hello? Hello? Sound? Ready? Okay. I want to welcome community members, fellow Board of Trustees to our special board meeting where we'll be discussing the school board and with the upcoming election. And this is a school board information session. It is May 11th and it is 6:04 p.m. I call to order. Now it's the flag salute. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Superintendent DeGuara, do we have any announcements? No, for no.
No announcements.
Okay. So now we go to item number 4, speakers wishing to address the board. Mrs. Ellinger, do we have any speakers at this time?
Yes.
Great. Welcome.
Oh. Sorry, yeah, if you wanna, it's because for the.
We're recording it,
recording,
yeah. No problem. Oh, even.
Is that one on? Oh, great, okay.
Once again, my name is Charles Shigong, and this is my 10th year as a parent in the district. I want to say I'm grateful to the board for convening tonight's special board meeting. I looked ahead to the agenda and I saw some of the questions that the trustees will ask themselves and share with the rest of us. And I'd like to offer a few follow-up questions for your consideration, not as additional questions to formally answer, but rather as nuances, I hope, surface in your responses. So first, on what's rewarding about the role, I'd love to hear what's been more rewarding than you expected than when you ran. And also, perhaps what's been less rewarding than what you expected. I think it's a little helpful to understand that gap between expectation and reality. Second, on advice for new candidates, my guess is this role has a tremendous personal cost that doesn't show up in the formal description. There's time away from family, there's public criticism, there's carrying things that you can't talk about. So I'd appreciate hearing how each of you has navigated this. And lastly, on the 3 adjectives question, I know every trustee will name aspirational qualities and they will all be 100% correct. And if you are willing to share, I would very much appreciate understanding which of your 3 adjectives is hardest to actually live up to in practice. Very much appreciate your willingness to consider these. Whatever the trustees choose to share tonight, I want to thank you all for your service to the board, what you've given to the district, and for making an effort to bring other people into this work.
Thank you, Charles. And those are all the speakers.
Great, thank you. Now we are on to the presentation, the school board information session, which is item number 5. Superintendent DeGuara, do you want to give some context?
Good evening, trustees. Really excited to share a little bit of background to get us started over the next hour or so. I hope that we'll engage in some really good conversation, answer some really good questions that help our community understand what it means to be a school board trustee. So I'm going to start tonight with just a few informational slides. Really, the bulk of tonight, it comes at slide 6 with questions for current board members, where we'll just have some good conversation. A couple of trustees will take the lead on each question. We'll make sure that we leave a little bit of time for some just anecdotal pieces, things that come to mind. And then we'll close with the logistical elements of what does it mean to run and how do you do it. So I'll just go ahead and jump in with our first slide here. So the first few slides really come from the California School Boards Association. This is how they define the role of school boards. California School Board Association really provides the guidance for school boards. They provide the professional development for school boards and really give us a general overview of what it is like to be a school board member. So they have 5 attributes. The first one is the idea of setting direction. So as a trustee, our trustees set direction for BRSSD schools. Really important to think, especially now that we're by trustee areas, that our trustees advocate for all of our schools, not one particular school or one particular grade, but all of our schools together through things that they do, establishing vision, establishing mission, working on our strategic plan as a big piece, and then making sure the governance that happens behind the scenes is in line with that vision and mission. The second attribute is to establish effective and efficient structures. So we talk about setting the vision, the course. Trustees make sure that we do what we need to do to make sure that that happens. They're ensuring that our budget is aligned to our LCAP, that our mission, our goals, everything that we say that we're going to do, that there's actual budget to go ahead and do that. They look at curriculum, formally approved curriculum after teachers have reviewed. They approve course outlines. Actually, that's coming up at our future meetings here. And then the trustees really are responsible for setting that positive climate in collective bargaining, working with our both classified and certificated unions. The third attribute that CSBA mentions is providing support. A trustee's big role is to provide support in so many different areas. They're the essential link between the community and the school district. They govern on behalf of the public. Trustees represent the community to the district and advocate for the entire district in the community. So helping broaden what we do day in and day out and make it visible to the community. They model positive work environment through their interactions in a public way. They model open, straightforward, and tactical communications. We have tough conversations in the public, right? The fourth piece is accountability, ensuring accountability. So we set the vision, we put into play ways to help our vision become reality. And then we look at indicators. We look at student data. We monitor student progress. And the board establishes the criteria it's going to use to ensure success. The board adopts a budget that provides stability, effective use of funds. The board promotes safe and appropriate educational environment to all students. Again, I want to reiterate all students, each and every student, we are responsible for to ensure that they're receiving the best education possible. And then finally, the fifth attribute that CSBA identifies is providing community leadership as advocates for children, the school district, and public schools more broadly. So we want to make sure, again, each and every student is successful, that we're advocating for our school district and really advocating for public schools, the responsibility of public schools to educate all children. I appreciate the diagram that helps CSBA and us kind of guide our work. This is a diagram that anybody who ends up being a board member will see pretty frequently through CSBA. And it really helps us understand how the parts align. So the governance team, which is the district superintendent and school board, work together to establish beliefs, vision, mission, policies, and priorities. The school district, the staff, are responsible for developing those action plans, implementing the vision of the board, evaluation, looking at progress reports. And really there's that overlap where we do that work together around strategic goals, developing success indicators, and that's how we continue to grow as one. I've been talking a lot about CSBA, and CSBA has an annual education conference. It's in early December, at usually the first week of December every year. It alternates between usually San Diego, San Francisco, and Sacramento, has been the last few conferences. And really, CSBA provides that professional development to support boards in their work. It's a several-day conference. Our trustees do have a history of attending together. It's one of what I would say the expectations for sitting on the board, not a requirement. We encourage. Sometimes some board members can go some years, other board members go others. Occasionally, we are all there at the same time, which is fantastic. And the district does support that expense. The other thing that I think all of our trustees do, which is pretty remarkable for BRSSD, is we all participate in Masters in Governance through CSBA. It's five modules that we take over the course of usually a year. Sometimes it's a year and a half. Usually they're 2-day courses. Sometimes they're hybrid, where trustees engage with one another to learn all about governance. And that's Masters in Governance. Again, it's flexible, it's encouraged, but we do encourage all trustees to participate in that. With that, that's a really broad overview. I'd encourage, and at the end of the presentation is links. You can read all about school boards through California School Boards Association. I think the biggest piece is the Q&A portion, which we'll go to now. So again, I identified board members. We identified board members who would speak on each. Of course, everybody's welcome to chime in. Yes, yeah. CSBA, just to reiterate, California School Boards Association is really the overarching body that is responsible for guiding school districts. They provide model policies, they provide professional development, they answer our need-to-know questions whenever we have them, and they actually facilitate policy development. So they're oftentimes developing model policies for us. So let's go with the first question. Let's just jump right in there. First question is, what do you find most rewarding about serving on the school board? This question is for everybody, and I think it's a great opportunity to weave in maybe what you thought it was going to be most rewarding versus what actually is. So why don't we, Trustee Bruno, maybe start with you and work our way around the table.
Okay. I like the nuances you added, so I was thinking. Sorry. Most rewarding. I have two. Impact is something that I've been kind of like always looking for in my life, and I would say that's the most rewarding part that I find on being on the board. The nuance to it is its nuance, right? So I sit in meetings and I make decisions, but I'm not swinging an axe or like putting the new roof on, right? So I'm kind of detached. I really do care about like the experience students have, but numbers wise, when you think about parents, families, teachers, there's more of them actually than there are students. And I think as the impact moves up, I've been hitting more of that, which I wasn't thinking about. As a PTA member, you know, I was handing popcorn to 7-year-olds, and I think I'm doing that less. But still, what I do recognize is the impact. But yeah, and we just through a binocular as opposed to by hand.
Thank you. Yeah. I would say what I find most rewarding is when there is like a fork in the road for the district to take, is helping to be part of the group that makes that decision. And being able to listen to the community, try to take in input from multiple stakeholders, and try to come up with the best decision. And then also another very specific is just whenever students present to the board, I get choked up. That's amazing of just seeing what the students have been learning, what our teachers and staff have been guiding them to do and grow in their skills.
Um, what's the most rewarding thing about being on the board? I think there are so many things. Like April said, you're in this very privileged position to see the incredible amount of good work that's being done across the district. We get to see every single school. We get to see what the teachers and what the principals and what the students find most amazing about their experience. And you get to see all of that. That's something you don't get to see as a parent usually. Usually as a parent, you see, oh, my class is doing this. Whereas like in our position, it is fed to us and we can see it and we can appreciate it and we can really see the impact of the work that we're doing. And also like April, again, like April said, I find it rewarding, but I also find it the hardest part of the job is looking at that fork in the road, right? There are so many different things to think about, to choose, to listen to, and you have to sit there and you have to listen to every single person come and talk to you. Well, I feel like I have to, right? Listening to all of that, digesting it, processing it, and really thinking about, well, what do I think is best? And it becomes really difficult because it's great that I have a voice in making that decision, but you never know what the right decision is. You know what I mean? Like you don't know, like I'm making the best choice that I can make. At the same time, I am making one of 5 votes of what is going to happen. And I feel like that's a real big weight and it's a burden. But at the same time, it is what makes it so amazing. I really do appreciate that about our particular role. And we get to see all the kids. Yay. And they like you on campus. Like you go to campus and people are really nice to you. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I like to go first. Because now all the things I was gonna say have been said. Um, I do think it is really important. And Jackie mentioned the word impact, and then just hearing, each board trustee talk about when the students come in is really the most rewarding part. And Dan, you were saying like, what did we think was going to be the most rewarding? And to be completely honest, I was not involved in the school at all before joining the board because my son was in TK when I joined the board. So I didn't have that PTA experience or like a room parent experience. I kind of just jumped right in. So I didn't know what to expect. And really being able to see each school come in and they're always so prepared and so excited to share what they've been doing at their particular campus. And so I think just being able to be part of that and then seeing them come in. And I mean, just the other day, I can't remember which board meeting because there's been a lot this year. But the kids, like, they came in and sang for us and did like a whole show. And it was just definitely for me the most rewarding. So thank you.
All great responses. I made some notes so that I wouldn't be repetitive, and I guess the advocacy that we're able to do for students, families, and the broader community to shape things that really matter really kind of makes me smile even. And I think, the joy, curiosity, and energy of the students is definitely shown in the presentations. That's by far seeing the kids reciprocate from things that maybe we have an impact over is truly special. But I think to know that we as a board help shape those experiences in some small way, and I say small, I know it's large because we have curriculum adoption, but when I think about the teachers in the classroom, that's what I mean, like who are doing the most amazing work, who are caring for our kiddos, and if we can support them to make their jobs easier, or provide them the material or everything. That's what I mean. Like, that's to me is like our blessing. They're the ones who I feel, humbly speaking, are doing the greatest impact, and being the first ones to to work with our children. But I also just think that I really appreciate the most the relationships and conversations we had. I think, um, I wish I wish we did that, were able to do that more, and there's nothing stopping us. But for example, with the middle school alignment, we got out there and we had the town hall meetings, and a lot of us, I think all of us, met one-on-one, and I felt very energized by that. Um, and that was really, I think, while it was you know, that part of the work was, it was challenging. I find that connecting, sharing our purpose, is very rewarding, to further the work of the district. So, that is a thing. And I would say just one last thing about the least rewarding, I would say is I came in, I'm a kind of a, I think we're all kind of like doers, and 3 out of 5 of us are in the education realm, and so, and full time, and so I wanted to kind of dive deep into the work. What I've realized is, if you see back on that shell, we're the strategy level, and so we have the trust in our superintendent and the leadership, the cabinet, to do the work, that's, and to bring us to the decisions that we need to then discuss as a group. Sometimes, it's tough not to micromanage, not to like get into the weeds, but that's not our role as a board member. And that's a little bit challenging because, you want to be, furthering your suggestions. We definitely get our input in, but it's in different ways, and it's not grabbing it and going into the weeds. That's the trust that we have with the leadership team, the cabinet, to do their work at our direction. That's all.
Thank you. Second question, and we'll put this one out for Trustee Dang and Trustee Bruno, Jackie and Ann. How much time is typically required each week for board duties in meetings, preparation, and other responsibilities? Would you ballpark?
This is a great question. Thanks, Dan. So coming into joining the board, I didn't do a lot of like preparation and looking into what all of it entails. And it's definitely quite a bit more than I had expected. However, I think that it's all like good, right? So it's like stuff I want to know. So I would say if I had to ballpark, I mean, we're including everything though. Okay. So and this is like if you go to everything, right? Because there's a lot of events and things like that that we're all invited to participate in. I would probably say for me, it's like 15 to 18 hours a week, I would say.
Um, Similarly, I think per week is a tough metric. I think per month is the easier way if for anyone thinking about it, is some months are a lot more, and then some cycles also. So it'll be a few months. So if you asked me 3 months ago, I might say 20 hours a week just in emails and conversations, and honestly just time sitting still. It's just been like, what's going to happen with this thing? And there's some times where I feel like just with a board update and no meeting that week, I tell you 4 or 5. But when you add, depending on what committee you're in, and if you're, so I'm actually not talking about the board meetings at all. There's a given 3 to 5 hours on a board meeting in a month, but let's take that out. But a meeting like today, and you add just trying to be a good community member. And one of the things that is rewarding is we get to hear from all schools. But there's also, I will say, a now kind of trying not to use any negative words. I'm going to use the word looming, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but responsibility to know what's going on at all 7 sites, to be like, you know what, if I can make that musical, I will drive up to Fox or over to Redwood Shores. So add whatever you choose, which can add a few more hours per week depending on the range. So going to a business fair and it's a party and Central's bubble fest. The things like that again can on average add another 3 to 6 hours. And there's also additional interest. So I think a board member should be aware of what's going on in our district, but also others. So I get kind of spam emails from CSBA that I'm like, I should click on these and see what's going on in Sacramento and Southern California and things like that. A few hours there. So I started to write and I was thinking, I'll say 4 to 10. But if speaking right now, I might change that to 6 to 12, knowing that in general, I don't really notice it and I'm intrigued and involved. And then there's some months where it feels like 25 a week. But yeah, I think they average out to a number that I would think closer to, 10 to 15.
Great. And I'll just add a couple of things. Kind of at Anne's point when she shared joining the board, Cabinet and I do provide all trustees with an onboarding process that gives information about districts, departments kind of share. So we work with the team as well. And then as a governance team, right, lots of things happening, lots of places that we might be invited to and sharing the wealth. Like I always say million days of May. There's promotion ceremonies, there's celebrations, there's all those things happening at each one of our sites. So the third question will go to Trustee Koss and Trustee Tang. How does the board interact with the superintendent and other administrators?
Dan makes it really, really easy. Honestly, he does and Kirsten, like these two people are the most amazing people in the world. They put time on your calendar. They are very flexible in moving things around. I've had coffee or the early morning Zoom at 7:30 with Dan because I had to cancel our meeting like last minute. But they do an amazing job of just setting it up and making it super easy to communicate. He provides board updates. He provides answers to all of your questions. You can text message him and then the next minute there's like an answer and you go, wow, that's amazing. Honestly, our staff is top notch and usually it's all it takes for you to communicate with them is to reach out and they reach right back out. So I would say it's the same with other administrators, like our principals, our teachers, they're all very responsive and very helpful.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for sure, I would say that, you know, the good thing is to work through our superintendent. So we're not limited in seeing who we want to see. We want to have follow conversations with the CBO, with principals, with other administrators. But it makes efficiency sense and certainly just for transparency to work through the superintendent so that he could set it up. That doesn't mean that we not grab for side conversations when we're on a school site picking up our kids or anything. And those are welcome too, but I think if we do have a follow-up that comes out of something we've heard, we work through Dan. It's just very simple and he and his cabinet are amazing. But I echo everything that Shelley said. They bend over backwards to make sure that we have the information and they're always around. The first thing is what can I get you any more information that you need to help you make the decision so you're most informed when you get to the monthly board meetings. And we also have, I will say, we also have to help with that. We have one-on-ones during the leading up to that, where we can share things with the superintendent that we can't with each other because we're prohibited by the Browns Act. So if we have questions, that really helped me on board, very much so. Just kind of like how our district does things. And so I will say you're not thrown out there. You're definitely not isolated, you know, without a paddle, so to speak, the proverbial paddle. You're really supported both with the information you need and the one-on-ones. I've never been denied more a one-on-one. Maybe he's wanted to, but I've never been denied.
There's days I've had quite a bit of coffee in one day during our meetings. Next question will be for Trustee Bruno and Trustee Northrup. How are decisions made within the board? Is it generally through consensus, voting, or another method?
Thank you. Yeah, so one thing I'd like to mention that relates to this, just in terms of it also goes back to expectations, is I think before I joined the board, I really only knew about this part of the board meeting, right? This is the public meeting. And so I think in the public meetings, we have conversation. We're usually trying to, I would say, we're trying to get to consensus. Um, Sometimes we need to do a roll call vote so that we know exactly how each individual trustee feels about it. But then, yeah, the other part of it that I don't think I really knew about as much before is the closed session, which the state comes up with laws that govern us, which President Koss mentioned. One of them is the Brown Act, that we can't discuss with each other outside of the public meeting. You know, well, what do you think about that? Well, I heard from so-and-so. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. However, the state does say that certain categories of discussion can be confidential. Negotiations with labor partners, personnel issues, student discipline issues, and litigation. And superintendent evaluation, which is great. So those are things that we generally then talk amongst ourselves with Superintendent DeGuara, and then we kind of give direction to Superintendent DeGuara. So we may not all agree exactly, but if a majority is pointing in a particular way versus a different way, then that's what we do.
Okay. Trying to use words here. Decisions. Consensus feels right like a word, but it's not a necessity. So I think in general, we can agree. A word that's not necessarily here, Trustee Koss brought up earlier, is I think a lot of them, or not, I want to qualify, many of them are made through trust. So one of the things that I kind of scrolling back to one of the questions as far as like rewarding or not, and again, we mentioned like whether I'm in the weeds, is sometimes decisions are just presented to us and we get to ask questions and think about it. But most of the time, whoever did the work to get to that recommendation did most of the work and is paid to do that thing and is great at it. And we just have to be like, that makes sense. We can push, we can prod, we can ask more questions, we can ask before, we can ask after. And I think that's kind of what we get to do here. But I would say a healthy amount of the decisions that I can say that I made were made. And then I get to like look under the hood and eventually just like approve them. And even then, that doesn't have to necessarily be agreed. But I think that's where there's 5 of us and decisions are made. I will say 99.8 that I've experienced in the 4 years have been consensus has been the right word, but that was just a side effect of good work that was done. Some of it is done in thought partnering, and you've heard a bit of people talking about like kind of our limits. I would say inside of those limits, there is space for conversation, and a lot of that happens. So whether I'm, depending on my role in this arc, I might be talking to one other board member or talking to Dan or kind of like, again, reading emails, but also sometimes there's a collective meeting. So if you're president or vice president and you're part of the agenda meetings, you actually might have some deeper conversations because you're going to try to scope out like how things might rise up or not. So I feel like I've had some pretty thorough conversations that were really helpful in the process. So thinking personally of how I made that decision, it was through that additional work. I think they're done through committee. And then I think the word direction was used, and I would say most of them kind of that same line of trust is, again, the word direction gives us credit for saying yes. But again, I think a lot of the work is done with not even just, I'm going to say Dan, but I think his team does a lot of the work that comes through us to make even some of the grander decisions you may have seen. A lot of that work happened and came to us, and then we had to do our job as representing the community and try to ask questions for people or dig a little bit deeper or occasionally push and even sometimes create. But I would say that part was a smaller part of the role.
Great. Thank you. Next question is for President Koss and Trustee Northrup. What are the current major challenges or challenges facing the board in the school district? And I think looking forward past November.
Okay, I made some. So I think in general, I would say that we are, again, I use the word blessed, but I think our district is really a high functional district. And so a lot of the, when I looked at this, I really had to pause because I'm like, major issues or challenges. I think we're in amazing shape and we're going forward and doing what we need to do. I will say that just as a school district across California, that one of our challenges that we just need to be mindful about is, and we've done some study work on it, is declining enrollment, which is affecting not only the nation, but certainly, again, public school districts across California, and what that long-term impact has on staffing, performing, and financial sustainability. And as we continue to have important conversations about maintaining high-quality programs across all our schools, we just have to keep that in mind with also being fiscally responsible. I would say another challenge is just balancing diverse perspectives in a passionate community. We have a passionate community, and I think that people really care deeply about our schools, which is an amazing strength. But it also means that the board has to listen carefully, evaluate data thoughtfully, and make decisions that both serve our current students and the long-term health of our district. So, and just navigate those challenges ultimately with transparency and good governance and kind of keeping students in mind and at the center. I think when we do that, we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I just think that's when those challenges, whatever they are, emerge. The cohesiveness of our district and our board will prevail.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with President Koss. Also, just wanted to, again, in the mention, as President Koss did, in the realm of challenges compared to other districts, I am very grateful for Superintendent DeGuara and his cabinet in this particular instance for our financial health related to our chief business official, Matsumoto, and his predecessors who have helped guide the board to how we could spread out funds that we received as a one-time fund and actually utilize them to improve students' education for years and years at a time and make it sustainable. I listen to the radio and hear on the news occasionally. Again, as President Koss said, declining enrollment for most school districts in California, that means your funding is going down if your enrollment is declining. And that's a problem. So we are very fortunate, thanks to our community where we live, that the property taxes are more than what the state guarantees as a minimum. So when our enrollment declines, we actually don't lose money. We still have the same amount of money because it's from the property taxes, as well as parent and business donations through School Force and the parcel taxes and bond measures that voters have approved, which again, we're also very thankful for. So as I said, yeah, that was mostly saying we really don't have a financial challenge. We still need to raise money because we still want to provide a wonderful education for our students that includes art and music and science. And even with the property taxes, those are not enough to cover everything that a well-rounded education requires. But so I would say our challenges are fairly minor. I would say just making sure that we're thinking of the most vulnerable members of our community, and making sure that we're making decisions for the good of the entire community, of course, but definitely looking to see how things may affect the most vulnerable members of our community.
Thank you. Our next question, Trustee Tang and Trustee Dang. What advice would you give someone considering whether or not to join the school board?
I think the most important thing is to make sure your family is on board, because it's the school board is, I would say, time commitment wise would be on par with like a PTA president or something, right? It's a ton of work, yes. But it comes with a lot of trade-offs. We have a lot of meetings that can't be moved. We have things that we need to go to. Making sure that your family is 100% on board with you. I had a whole vote in my house, you know, and it came
The
down
vote
to,
for
if
the-
mommy is at a school board meeting, I can watch more TV. Literally. And even tonight, I left my child at a track meet for my husband to pick up. And I didn't even get to see his event because he didn't go fast enough to be here, right? And in that process, my husband had to go up to Ralston, drop off my girl to do soccer, go down to Carlmont to pick up my track meet boy, and then my little guy is at home watching TV. So understanding that that is a trade-off that happens and that is sometimes required is, I think, the most difficult part for me. So really thinking about that piece of it. At the same time, your kids can go to school and say, I'm very proud. I have a little sign. I'm very proud of I love my mommy because she's the best school board member ever. Like, what? So, and I have, you know, but, and so,
So on Mother's Day and Father's Day, from now on, you're going to get little signs.
yes, but I don't know if he knew what he was thinking, but that's what he wrote. So.
That's great. I would say advice to someone considering joining the school board. I would say you need to come in with an open mind, because there are going to be a lot of diverse opinions, and that's what makes this work really good. And I think that through, our conversations and the presentations from the cabinet, um, you learn a lot. So you need, I would say make sure that you understand that this job of the board, the duty of the board is to ensure the well-being of each and every student. So sometimes it's hard, right? Because we have our own kids and we want to like make sure, because my son has special needs, I want to make sure that, these certain things are happening, but you really need to be open to each and every child. And so I think that's very important. And also just with the open mind, also understanding, there's difficult conversations and you're not always going to agree with everyone, and that's okay. And it's fine to have a different opinion. We don't always have to all agree on the same thing. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Great. Last question. So what 3 adjectives would you use to describe an effective school board member? And I'll channel Charles. And the hardest of those 3 to live up to in practice. I'm not going to pick on anybody in particular. whoever's ready first.
I'll go first. Okay, so my three adjectives are accountable, prepared, and equitable. So I think we all kind of mentioned those already, but I think making sure that you hold yourself accountable, it's really important to me. And I think transparency is a big part of that. Like that, all of our meetings are in public, and I think that's really important that we're also making an effort to inform the community about the decisions that we're making. And I think it's really great that we have so many people in our community that come to our meetings and that speak at our meetings. And so I think that's a really great part of this community. Um, for prepared, so this one I think is the hardest one. So I am definitely guilty, as it may show tonight, that I didn't quite come prepared enough for this particular meeting. Um, and I apologize. But I think being prepared is really important. And I do think that I would say Superintendent DeGuara and his cabinet make that really easy for us because they just deliver it all in a nice little package and you just have to open everything and take a look. And they do great work. So I think a lot of the time we look at things and it's like everything is great. Um, and my third one is equitable. And I think it's really important, the word equitable and how it's different from being from like equality. So I think we actually do a really good job here of being equitable. And I think everyone takes it very seriously. And I think that's one of the things that makes this community great.
I'll give my adjectives. What three adjectives would I use to describe an effective school board member? I would say collaborative, because we need to collaborate. I would say transparent, along the lines of what Anne was saying, being accountable and being transparent and being open with the community. I think that that's super important. Just to make sure that people are in line and they understand where you're coming from when you make any given decision. And then the last one I would say is student-centered. I think it's really important to keep, for me at least, my North Star is this what is the best that we can give to our kids? Is it what will give them the best education? What will it be? What will keep them the most healthy? Will it be any of this? It has to be student-centered. It's about the kids. It's not about us. Which was the hardest? I feel like all of those are pretty, like, I'm in line with all of those. I don't, I will say none of those are hard for me.
All right, I'm gonna follow the rules and then I'm gonna cheat. My three are discerning, dedicated, and capacious is the word I wrote. I'll explain. I know.
Can I have a definition, please, Alex?
And I'm not sure I agree with it. Targeted capacity. But anyway, I'll explain backwards. I think an effective board member should be like somewhat genuinely interested in more than one thing and being able to like let go of the one things. If you come in really thinking about, I want to talk about transportation, but this month's focus is budget, you have to gain some skills there to be, and you have to be able to like open to all the things. And I actually think it is important for every board member to bring a skill or a passion to the board. So the part where you're like, I'm really interested in this reading curriculum. I think there's something good that of the five, a person with that thing can have, while also being willing to listen to and ask questions and dig into other things. So, I wrote like willing/dedicated, and I think that one was probably the hardest to live up to for me. I took onto the board knowing that I wanted to do something bigger than like my two kids in their bedrooms and their path to school and then their school site. And so being bigger than that came with responsibilities like staying prepared and going to events. And I will say in my 4 years, there were ups and downs. There were times where I was willing to look at all the calendars and think of events and go to the brown bags. And there was times where I was tired. And I do think like on a grand scale, there were moments where I wish I had been stronger there actually, and maybe out more invisible. And I think that one was the hardest for me to stick with of like, I will be a known entity at 7 sites in some way. I would say there's times where that was easy and there was times where I slipped. And then discerning, I think there is space to, like I talked about the trust and things like that, but I think there's space where an effective board member will ask questions that might even make them uncomfortable sometimes to be like, hold on, I know we think we're done, but I want to dig a little bit harder. And I think any institutional entity, including a bureaucratic one like this, I say that not as an insult, as a truth. I think there's space for an effective board member to say, hold on, is that equitable? Or are we sure?
That was really good. Hard following that, hard following everybody. My 3 adjectives, I think trustees need to be thoughtful, empathetic, and principled. So I think thoughtful for me also, like what you were saying, goes with flexibility and openness. Thoughtful in evaluating information. We get a lot of information that we have to kind of make decisions on, but also understand the different perspectives. A lot of times certainly we all have opinions and we come in and it's been more robust, my thought process by listening to my fellow trustees. Or I'll come in and I think, oh, I have this perspective, and then I'll hear a different perspective from their backgrounds, and I'll be like, oh, that's really, really interesting. Or I'll come up with another set of questions based upon a line of questioning from others. So I think you have to be flexible and openness, not just the perspectives that maybe community members are sharing, but also fellow trustees, which has kind of been very enriching for me. Empathetic, certainly, I think you listen to students, families, staff, broader community, kind of keeping in the center for me has always been like decisions impact real people. And we are designated as the representative of the broader community. And so I'm always want to be mindful, am I representing those interests, in the best way? And so being also empathetic to make sure that we're listening, because they are real people behind those decisions. And finally, and lastly, I guess principled, as we were talking about before, I think we tend to come to a consensus, and I think we are aligned. But it's okay that, if we are decisions on that, there's no universal agreement. I think principled enough to make decisions with integrity, with conviction, even when issues are difficult and there isn't universal agreement. I think, and I would expect, and that the board does bring that, that they have a conviction, that there is integrity, and that's great. That's great for our debate, right? So those are my 3.
Thank you. I figured I would go last because I did not actually prepare for this one at all. So I think Trustee Dang is doing an amazing job preparing for everything. To help me remember, just like our students do, I decided while I was listening to everything that I was probably going to go with 3 words that all start with the same letter, alliteration, so that would help me. So also, I was thinking, right, of course, we want very dedicated people to run for school board. I also want it to not be intimidating to run for school board. So I'm trying to have the adjectives I'm saying be things that I think most people are. So one is curious, right? You want to find out more. Okay. I'll be pretty brief. Second one is collaborative, right? And what I would say in regards to that is, I think going into the board, I thought I would be able to accomplish a lot as an individual. And I've probably accomplished very little as an individual. But working with the board and the superintendent through collaboration, that's where I actually feel like I've been able to accomplish things as part of the team. And then the third one, you don't have to be this. It comes. I think you can develop it as you take on the role. Is confident. At the same time, that I think the only things I've really accomplished personally have been as part of the team. At the same time, I think that I've needed to have the confidence to say what I'm thinking and and know that, like, even if the decision is not what I'm suggesting is the decision, that it was good for me to say my opinion. Thank you.
Super. So I just want to thank our trustees for their open and honest reflections. And I will just say you're a little hard on yourselves. Yes, there's a lot that comes into play, and just kind of what I'm kind of thinking through. We are a governance team. So the governance team defined by trustees and the superintendent, a team, right? We look at things from multiple perspectives. We help one another. We collaborate with each other. For the public out there, I'll share that our trustees every year agree to be a primary representative for a school or two. We typically tend to align that where our kids go so that it's a little bit easier. But in the idea of a team, when one member can go and one member can't, that's okay. When one member has something happening in their personal life or work life, other members are able to cover. So I just want to thank you for the grace that you give one another and how you support each other. And then I'll just share with Trustee Northrup's point, part of being a governance team is sharing your perspective, advocating for what you see, what you believe, recognizing that a decision may or may not go your way, but collectively, we find our way to the right answer. And as a team, as a governance team, we support our collective decision. So I just want to say thank you for sharing those thoughts tonight. The last few slides are logistical slides that I'll go through. A lot of folks, I think one of our trustees mentioned that being a trustee is kind of similar to PTA. You invest lots of hours, you do lots of good work in support of our kiddos. The difference is, while you're elected for PTA, you're elected in a little bit different way. You are elected by our community. So it's a very formal process that actually doesn't go through the district. It goes through the registrar of voters in the county. I'm going to go my slide there. There we go. We are a by trustee area. We went to by trustee area a couple of years ago. This year, we are electing trustees from our odd numbered areas, areas 1, 3, and 5, the brown area, the orange area, and the red area. You physically have to live within those boundaries to run for those trustee areas. So currently, Trustee Bruno and Trustee Koss live in the same area. And Trustee Northrop is different. They were elected at large under the previous model, and were formally transitioning into the by trustee area. So there's a website up there. I do encourage anybody that's running, click on that link. It's on our district website. Make sure the area, make sure you're in the area that you think you're in prior to jumping in. And then it's all through the county. Let's see here. through San Mateo County. I say Registrar of Voters, but it's a few other acronyms and services that are provided from the county. SMCACRE. There's the website there. They have very specific timelines for filing. So you can start filing period 113 days before the election, which we calculated as July 13th. And it closes 88 days before, which is August 7th. Again, very formal. I always tell folks you need to verify through the county that those dates are correct, but 113 to 88 days. If you are not running unopposed, meaning if there's 2 or more candidates, your name will be on the ballot, just like representatives for Congress and president and all those pieces. It is a formal election. So please visit SMCACRE to find out more information there.
Could I add a little
Please.
piece? I will say, there's a cost. If you're not running unopposed, there's a cost to be in the information booklet, and then you write out a statement. That's what it's for. It's like your candidate statement being printed. But also when you file at the office, the people are very nice and they're very helpful, and they literally just like hold your hand through the whole thing. So it's not I feel like Dan made it seem like very intimidating. Like it's totally not like that. You just walk in, they're very nice. You sit at the desk and they like take you through the whole thing.
That is true. They are very nice. They are very supportive. They support us when we have questions. And they always encourage you to file early so that if there's a little bump, you have plenty of time and it's low stress. So it is formal, but it is definitely doable. And I'm here to assist. For folks in our audience, for folks who are listening or maybe watching later, I always encourage reaching out to me personally. I'm happy to talk one-on-one, answer any questions, provide any other details, as I know our trustees are as well. So we're here to answer questions. You can feel free to reach out to us. And then finally, the last slide is just a resource slide from California School Boards Association, Roles and Responsibilities, School Board Leadership. Honestly, just poking around CSBA website, csba.org, correct? Has all kinds of stuff there. San Mateo County Elections Office, 10 things you need to know to declare your campaign. There is some technicalities and piece things you need to file there. Tower Road is where you go. If you drive all the way up Ralston, go over 92. It's, I think, your first left, and it's down there in the canyon off of Tower Road. And then please reach out to schedule time with me to talk about those options. Trustees, please feel free. Any closing thoughts or added ideas?
I was just going to say that Dan has his email here, and then so all of our emails are the same format. So it's just the first letter and then our first letter of our first name and our last name. So if you want to reach out to us, there's also one that you can do like board at, I think, which goes to all of us.
I just wanted to offer a tip for the elections office, which is that there is the primary happening in first week of June. So please, if you're interested, by all means, reach out to the elections office as soon as you're thinking about it. But just keep it in mind, please, that the last few days before the primary, and then probably at least a week after the primary, they're going to be focused on the primary election. So if you want to talk to them before that or after it, because their staff will be counting all the ballots after the primary.
I'll add another tip. I wasn't ready for it. They're going to ask you for 3 adjectives for yourself. It's a real thing, and I panicked. So think about that before you go.
Actually, I don't know that I realized that, Trustee Bruno.
I'm assuming, is all of this on the
Yeah.
website?
So all this is linked in our board agenda, and it is on our website live. We will make sure that we post this at the end of the week. I will send out the recording with additional information to the broader community. I know it's the Million Days of May, so we did have a few community events tonight that were in conflict, so we'll make sure people get the information.
Great. I think that's it, right? We know, let's go back to.
Oh,
Okay, well,
uh,
we can make,
yeah.
now we're done. No.
We do have a.
I know, no,
Yeah.
I know. She told me to bang the gun.
And we have fun.
And we have fun. So I want to thank Superintendent Guar and my fellow trustees for putting an excellent informational session out there. And so with that, we formally kind of conclude the open session. We're going to convene to closed session and then we reconvene to open session?
There will
don't
not
think-
be a report out of closed session tonight, so we won't be reconvening.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn the open session part at 7:10 PM. Again, thank you for all for listening or coming in person.